Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Reap Smite League. My name is Judas Priestley, and I am joined today by a very special person that you may all be aware of. It is Muffin Man joining me today. Muffin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's an honor to be next to someone as talented of a caster as the man next to me, Judas Priestley. Judas, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. It is just ticking past 1 a.m. today. It's going to be a bit of a later one for me, but, I'm still very excited. But speaking of excited, just to get things through even faster than we may normally do over here at Reap Smite League, we'll be heading straight into game this time. We will not be getting to see the first stage of picks and bans. We're getting right on into the action, because that's all anyone really wants to see. And just like that, I hope you've all already got your seats and got your snack, because we are into the game. And Muffin, we can see both drafts on either side. Is any particular draft standing out to you for any reason just yet?
Well, immediately off the bat, I think we're going to see a quick difference in styles here as we see that ADC mid lane strategy already coming to play. We've seen a lot of that in the SPL, and I'm interested to see how these Gold Fury teams are going to try and take that and adapt that to their own play styles.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. We've seen a lot of double hunter lately. Obviously, you want to pair that with something like a Hairnets in the draft. Normally, we find Hairnets heading to the mid lane, but this time in the ADC role. But still, Charybdis from Scary Creep has that protection shred themselves. So it's still similar styles of ADC coming through. But I'm just looking at both sides, and I'm actually expecting a bit of a slower start to this one.
Oh, I agree with that 100% here. I think there's a lot of more late game centric picks. You go that double hunter, you're going to scale extremely well, especially with the fact that you have that late game Cthulhu to rely on. Ganesh can have a lot of impact with those late game with ohms and some fantastic CC. So there's a lot to be desired from this Hanford Hairnets late game, and as well on this VHS side, we see a lot of late game potential as well coming out from that, Scylla Charybdis combination there. I would not be surprised if it was a little bit more of a slow start.
Will, of course, depend, I believe at least, on how Chaos Tonight decides to play this Thor. Thor, of course, hits level 5, gets that Anvil of Dawn, and will start showing up in lanes you would expect. And maybe that'll be where some fireworks start off, but already into the middle lane, getting a bit aggressive. Nice second combined there. Big CC chain coming through, but it's just a little bit of early poking and prodding just now. No real kill potential coming through just yet. But almighty Chuck over here on this Pele definitely going to have a job to do to keep up with Thor, because of course Pele, very strong starter, but maybe doesn't rotate quite as quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, especially, trying to, with how much even just counter gank potential Thor has. It's going to be really hard for Pele to really try and get something going, but she kind of has to. She can't sit around and do nothing because she's not going to scale as well into some of these late game picks. So it's going to be interesting to see how she goes out and tries to play these rotations and stuff, with Thor having just more ability to do so.
Yeah, of course. We'll have to see exactly how that matchup will go, because while rotating to lanes, I would say the advantage probably goes the way of Chaos Tonight on the Thor. But in a straight up fight in the jungle, you got to say almighty Chuck will be feeling better about that. Speaking of feeling better, we do have Hello Brandon feeling a little bit better than Top Hat right now, as there's Achilles, who probably will do quite well into the Cthulhu later on, is a bit of a tough start in this early phase, but should be all okay just there, as we peek over to the dual lane and see the pressure in favor of VHS. So very tightly balanced at the moment. Where are you thinking, Muffin, that the real ignition point will be for this game?
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of action going on in this duo lane so far. They've almost been constantly fighting there. I think that's really going to be where that key point of action goes. Then Foxen almost always looking to be aggressive, and Scary Creep really trying to just poke out as much as possible. I think that's where we're going to see that ignition fly.
Yeah, keep an eye on that lane, of course. This mid lane will be a bit of a quieter one, which I'm sure the two mid laners playing will be quite happy about. That's not something you very often see in the middle lane, of course. But, Scylla, I find this type of god that if you want to get involved early on, you almost need some really guaranteed setup. And I would say between Xing Chen and Thor, that 3v3 is good. But hold on, in the right-hand side of the map, Top Hat diving under with the Fatal Strike. But we'll just find it is their own downfall as well, as they do pick up first blood, but they drop second blood right after.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. It's not too bad overall. I think that trade is sort of fine. Pele picking up the kill, I think, is a little bit more important than Achilles getting a kill. So I think both teams kind of make it out fine out of that engagement.
Yeah, not too bad for either side. You know, you do, of course, want to be on the front foot in the solo lane. You never want your opposing solo laner to feel like you're not willing to go for that sort of dive. So it's definitely a good win in the straight up lane matchup for Top Hat. But yeah, good rotation from Almighty Chuck there to come on through. Just when you need it. But hold on, Will Range and Steel burns of beads on one side, but there is a nice bit of damage. But there's the Dark Pillars in response. There is the more hungers, but a whole lot of nothing really going on there. You know, a lot of ultimates expended on either side, but not too much damage. I say that as Law getting very, very low right there. Will be just about okay to come back to base, but already signs of aggression from both sides. And here we go, diving on to the enemy support, this time in the Hanford Hairnets. But still, as we mentioned, Muffin, probably going to be a slower game because the damage numbers just aren't there yet.
Yeah, just not quite there yet. They did get Cernino speeds out of that engagement, so we'll have to keep a little bit of attention onto this Cerninos because he's just lost all of his safety. Cern Dash isn't the best ability for escaping, so now Cern has to play extremely careful. So even though I believe Hanford Hairnets took a little bit of an edge out of that situation, it definitely has left VHS a lot of room to make some plays on that side of the map.
Yeah, and of course, with the just way that Charybdis inherently works, you know, there's a lot of poking going back and forth, so we would expect Ryo Shinji to be, you know, at 50, 60% HP quite often, so there's definitely room, but hold on. Speaking of room in the solo lane, all the way over there, we see another kill onto this Cthulhu. Hello, Brandon, not having the best of starts, even died with ultimate up, so I'm presuming that was just a flawlessly executed CC chain there between Chaos Tonight and Top Hat.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what any game plan against a Cthulhu should be. Getting a Cthulhu behind pretty much makes him useless until he hits level 20. And I really like that VHS is kind of they've noticed that, they're paying attention to that. They've also seen Top Hat has the willingness to go underneath that tower at level 5, you know, trying to make some plays happen on his own. So I definitely respect them trying to, you know, get some ganks into this Cthulhu and try and make some plays happen.
Speaking of plays happening, we have Almighty Chuck getting very aggressive, blinks forward onto Chaos Tonight. There's the knock-up, there's the little bits of extra damage, but is it quite enough? The speed boost, will it be there? We'll have to use that Volcanic Lightning just to confirm it, but it's going to be taking a lot of a debuff through the door and right into some trouble. There's the Armor Monster, does connect. That's a lot of damage, and there is enough damage to take down Almighty Chuck. So First Blood and Second Blood traded out. Then it was Fourth Blood and Fifth Blood traded out. So both sides very equal right now, but you know, I'd say it's signs of life from both sides, that both sides really want to get aggressive.
Yeah, both sides really want to get that lead. I mean, they're both more late game centric comps. So getting a lead and getting to that late game earlier than your opponent can really, you know, decide who wins the fights later in the game.
Yeah, and I touched on as well, right? We've seen Chaos Tonight having an impact in these lanes, but in the jungle, that jungle matchup goes in favor of Almighty Chuck, you know, as if they can really push on ahead. But in the middle lane, Buster Kappa now falling down to Chaos Tonight, who now has to retreat because Almighty Chuck has spotted them out. Again, this Thor making things happen, being across the map, has taken part in 2 kills already, and, you know, that's really what you need to be seeing from this VHS lineup.
Yeah, I mean, both these junglers trying to get active in these early games is really kind of both of them being sort of, not early game centric, both of them have a lot of things they can do throughout the entire game, but they both have a lot of ability to be active in the early game, and so their teams are kind of hinging and relying on them to kind of push the envelope and make stuff happen.
It's nice for VHS as well to find that Scylla has had a pretty simple start. Well, hold on, Fatal Strike comes down, Almighty Chuck juking and jiving, trying to get on out, and does find the space that they need. So Top Hat being a real menace on this right-hand side of the map for Hanford Hairnets. They can't seem to deal with this Achilles, because even the Cthulhu now in a matchup after taking out Pele does a lot of damage to Cthulhu too. So I don't know, do Hanford Hairnets have what they need to shut down an Achilles if it starts to get out of control like this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they necessarily have the best solution. I mean, Ganesh can always throw down that silence, which is gonna hurt anybody. But I think the double ADC is gonna be nice if they're able to land some CC. But I think that's a big if. There's not a whole lot of reliant CC. A lot of that CC can be hard to hit sometimes. So it just really depends on how well they're able to lock him down. If they're able to lock him down, those double ADCs can shred him. If not, then they're going to be in a lot of pain right there.
Nice whirlpool form there, but there's a lot of damage coming through the combination of that volcanic lightning and the wild hunt. But hold on, alternatively, Chaos Tonight can just show up on the other side of the map and take down Cthulhu. Now, there's always something said about the difference between NA and EU games, and in NA games, that's what happens. Jungler goes one side, the other jungler goes the other side, and we just see fighting all across the map. I gotta say, it's been a while since I've cast an NA game, and really good fun to see this sort of stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean it's always great to see action-packed games we have over here, but it looks like VHS are taking a little bit more advantage over here by actually getting this Pyromancer here, and Hairnets were not able to pick up that Gold Fury on the other side of the map.
Well, Pyromancer, is decent pickup, but Top Hat, as we mentioned, has sort of freedom right now because they're very hard to deal with, but I mean, that's pretty easy to deal with if you just walk into the whole enemy team while you're alone. That's certainly not the situation you want to be in. So, this Achilles, just needs to play things a bit carefully. As much as they do have some freedom, you don't really want to be giving up things too cheaply. But, Pyromancer gives VHS a slender lead, but not quite enough yet, Muffin, to really take over this game.
Yeah, 800 gold lead. You might see some people have maybe a single component, but nothing really fight changing. But I think what's a little more important in this early game is that XP lead going in the favor of Hanford Hairnets. Huge for them. Or sorry, yeah, going in favor for Hanford Hairnets. Very big lead for them there.
Committed on to this Ganesh, but thrown into danger, locked into danger. TTV Fallen will pick up another kill in this game, so a very, very healthy start for this Scylla. That's exactly what you would have been looking for, but hold on, they overstayed their welcome, because all the way from the solo lane is Hello Brandon, which will cause VHS to have to retreat. In the jungle, though, Chaos Tonight gets caught by a lot of damage, and Almighty Chuck will take out the opposing jungler. They're trading back and forth 1-for-1, but Hanford Hairnets get the better pickup, and are now looking at the Gold Fury.
Yeah, I think this is just the right call, but they are quite low. We could see a lot of things going down here.
Damage back from both sides. Top Hat picks up Almighty Chuck, and the Gold Fury goes down. But for who? We will have to wait to find out until later, as there's Buster Kappa taking a lot of damage. Fatal Strike does not execute. There's a lot of chasing members of VHS, and they will take down the Ishtar at this stage. The burn was good from Hanford Hairnets, but I don't know how to find out. How can we learn who got that? It's the all-important deciding factor in this fight. But we will have to keep an eye on, just who's feeling better about this fight, because Top Hat's still swinging.
Top Hat is just able to get in there. He's a menace at this point. He doesn't have a whole lot of physical protections yet, so, I mean, they could try and take advantage of it, especially right now with that double ADC on the line. So I'm interested to see kind of what he goes for that physical protections. It looks like we see Ishtar going with an interesting sort of crit build, so we'll have to see if he decides to opt for that spectral, or if he thinks some other items will be a little bit more valuable to him.
All right, well, we'll have to keep an eye on the rest of the build for the Achilles, because, of course, had a really strong showing in the fight. Just then, of course, bursts in and, starts to take... Well, just take a lot of damage, but still be able to output the damage, right? Despite all of the abilities flying back and forth, target on the Gold Fury, Achilles can stand strong in that moment, and picks up a decent amount of kills. But speaking of a decent amount of kills, Almighty Chuck on this Pele, already with 5 kills, is having a great start to this game. He's now storming down a lot of the health bar off Top Hat. There's the Ascend to Madness as well, but hold on, Anvil's Dawn just off the mark. Top Hat gets away safely. Chaos Tonight shows up just for some present, but not able to find all the damage. The Hanford Hairnets, but hold on. There is Fallen coming through. I'm a monster off the mark, though. will mean that Almighty Chuck gets away, fighting in both sides of the map. Top Hat feeling confident enough to re-engage, and Almighty Chuck does fall down to Fallen. So this Scylla rotating around the map, having an impact way before we'd expected to come online. It's been effective, but hold on as the fighting continues onwards. Getting locked in place now is Fallen. Very high value target is the Scylla. Whirlwind Rage and Steel for Peel. That is the end of the fight. Hanford Hairnets get aggressive, but pay the price.
Might not be the end of the fight yet. Hello, Brandon still looking for something over here. Foxen staying aggressive as always. We could see Hello Brandon going into a tricky situation. Both of them extremely low, but Cthulhu decides to head on out of there, saying his goodbyes.
Neither player there wanting to commit too heavily, of course, because both low health, both low mana. Neither have had the greatest of games so far, so you don't want to be giving up a cheap kill there. But a 2-level lead here in the dual lane. However, Ryusinji is maybe losing out this trade just a touch. As I say that, the the basics start to swing from Kerninos and get health bars very, very tense and dicey whirlpool form to avoid falling down just there. Looks like Scary Creep is just having trouble boxing this Kerninos.
I mean, that's gonna happen, especially towards this little part of the game. Kerninos, an extremely strong boxer. He also has a component lead there as well, and 2 levels. I wouldn't be boxing him at all if I'm Scary Creep right now. I think it's too much risk, too little reward. But we could see Thor looking for something here.
Sambuladon right on top, but the wall doesn't cut off the retreat path for Ryusinji, so the Kernos will have to burn the beads, but will stay alive. It's a bit tough, though, you really have to be careful if you are Ryusinji, because beads down again, the Anvil of Dawn can come in just a few minutes. Hello, Brandon has been shut down enough, but I think Thor can start to pay some attention to this dual lane. Meanwhile, I gotta point out, Muffin, over here we got Foxen just in the face of the enemy team non-stop. That's exactly what you want to see from your support.
Especially on someone like Jing Tian, where there is so much potential to just grab these beads, to be super aggressive, because when those beads are down, Thor is relentless. He's going to be coming down on top of your head, and so I really, really like the fact that he's almost always trying to get some beats.
Yeah, always looking for the best opportunity, and has been finding it so far, but Scary Creep gets taken out by the World Hunt. Chaos Tonight on the retreat. Volcanic Lightning close the distance. I'm a Monster will do a lot of damage to Almighty Chuck. Can they find the last hit? No, they cannot. Chaos Tonight will live with just a little bit of health, but there's Foxen providing more peel. Still low health themselves. Has to retreat as Hello Brandon makes some space. Top Hat walks into a lot of trouble, but are they the danger instead? It doesn't seem to be that way, because they're not able to find any more damage. There's a fatal strike, but a nice duck behind the wall from Almighty Chuck will keep themselves alive somehow. Hanford Hairnets don't manage to find a single kill just yet. A lot of low health bars from VHS, but everyone still stays alive, and that's, you gotta say, a bit of a small win for VHS.
Yeah, a small win for VHS. They're not dying in the situation that they were in is pretty intense.
Fighting continues on. Hello Brandon can't find enough damage. Chaos Tonight, Anvil of Dawn's in. Will they be able to get on out? Will get knocked up by the Ganesh. The Ohm to silence out, and that will shut down this Thor. And now Top Hat in an absolute world of trouble, and will finally fall down to Almighty Chuck. So Hanford Hairnets now picking up the kills that they require. They're going to turn those kills into a tier 1 tower, and there's a Pyromancer available if they want to go for it. All of a sudden, momentum shifts, and Hanford Hairnets take a small lead.
I think VHS just got a little too optimistic about the situation, and then tried to capitalize on what seemed to be a 4v2. So I think they just played a little bit too aggressively there when they didn't need to. They'd gotten the win. They didn't die. They were able to all stay alive in a situation where realistically multiple of them should have died. And so I think they just were a little bit too overzealous in that situation.
They sort of got away with it, right? They didn't win that fight. They just got on out, and that's not really the time when you look to push in. But maybe the time when you do look to take an Oni Fury is when your enemy is caught sleeping, and there's Oni Fury already half health. There's the Frenzy being popped. Ryusinji's watching it. They have a wall on it. They do not steal it, I don't believe, but that was very, very close. And it looked like there that Ryusinji had bided their time perfectly. But that's a lot of commitment onto the Oni Fury, but it's going to pay off. For Hanford Hairnets, they don't have to worry too much now about that objective. They can sit back if they're not feeling confident enough to take these fights, but someone who has been feeling confident so far is Fallen. Already 3-0-2. Very, very healthy. Has the shell popped. There's the beads coming out as well, but there is the Descendant Commanders. They were feeling healthy, but not any longer. As Almighty Chuck gets another pill, but the Anvil of Dawn on to 2 members. But there's the World Rage of Steel as well. So much CC under the tower because Almighty Chuck gets the Volcanic Lightning out, but it will not be far enough. Another connection, some trouble as well. Getting chased away is Law here, but I don't know where you're going to end up going. There's a Whirlpool form to keep them locked down. Nowhere to go but down. It's taken some time, but time is not on the side of Law as Top Hat swoops on over to get another kill. Hanford Hairnets take some victories, overstep the mark though, and give up a couple of cheap kills and have lost their lead.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're seeing a little bit of the same story, but on the opposite side, it looks like they're going to try and go for this Fire Giant here. I definitely respect this call. They have a decent bit of shred available to them, but they don't have that secure. So I wonder kind of what Hanford Hairnets is going to be looking for, but Busted Kappa looking to be in some trouble, not really being able to contest.
See Scary Creep putting out all of the damage they can, but it looks like the call is to back off. They've made the attempt. Fire Giants at half health, but Hanford Hairnets have now arrived on scene. Pyromancer instead will be the consolation prize for VHS, but that's still control of all of the major objectives so far. If they are able to get it, looks like an Anvil of Dawn up into the sky. The Chaos Knight's looking, maybe to see if anyone wants to overstay, but they will not step too high because Top Hat is on absolute mega zone duty right now. Kept the entirety of the Hanford Hairnets away, but you know, Pyromancer going to the way of VHS, Gold Fury going the way of VHS. It's all sort of falling in favor of VHS right now.
Yeah, I mean, VHS is doing very, very well, and it's particularly, I would give a lot of credit here to Top Hat here. He's been absolutely a menace in these fights, as well as just, I mean, you saw that he was 1v4ing in their jungle by himself and keeping them away from that Fire Giant for quite some time. So, you know, he's been doing something interesting, and something I'd like to know about him picking up is that Void Shield pickup. Do you think that Void Shield is really doing him a lot of favors in these fights, or do you think he could have gotten something else to be a little more effective?
I completely forgot that item was in the game, I have to be honest. It's been months, if not years, since I've even seen that built on anyone. But why not? You know, if you have the confidence that Top Hat has, and, you know, you mentioned not having the secure of the Scylla for that Fire Giant fight. You don't need secure if you've got Top Hat zoning everyone away. You know, if the enemy can't get close, then all of a sudden you don't need that extra tool. But there's some poking and prodding in the middle lane. Anvil of Dawn has been risen up into the sky. It would be very, very brave to dive on into that. Looks like VHS confident to step forward here. They're taking a lot of poking in the meantime, but Top Hat's flanked around the backside. Meanwhile, the fellow enemy soul laner has dived onto the opposing backline. There's a lot of ultimates going off on either side. Top Hat and Fox in very low health have to retreat, but hello, Brandon even lower and will fall down, but not quite down enough. But there's the Iron Monster taking out Almighty Chuck. The reset fires out and does a lot of damage onto Law as well. Law will just thread the needle and escape as Ryu Shinji takes down Chaos Tonight. There's a very scrappy back and forth fight. Lots of low health bars on both sides, but Buster Kappa cannot survive the shots coming out from Scary Creep. But back on scene is Hello Brandon, teleported all the way through. The reset comes fully through. Fallen diving forward, gets 2 kills in the process. Fallen going nuts on this Scylla right now, and Hello Brandon all alone against the world, cannot fight anything back, and it is a full deicide for VHS.
I am sweating right now. I mean, that fight was just within that fight itself. It was extremely back and forth. I couldn't tell you who was going to win until the last second of the fight, because when I saw Fallen going in, I'm like, oh no, is he going to die? Because Ryu Shinji was just doing so much damage in that fight. He was outputting so much DPS, and it looked like he was going to go untouched for that whole fight. And then Fallen coming in there, a beautifully played fight from Fallen right there, and it looks like VHS is going to go in and take advantage of that and look for this Fire Giant.
Yeah, of course, Fallen, if you're dashing forward on a Scylla, you better be pretty certain that you're going to come away successfully. And yeah, you know, they took a risk, and it absolutely paid off. It's a small risk now as the Fire Giant has been started up. Iron Monsters come out a bit early. It doesn't actually connect on the mark, but they do manage to secure it. Almighty Chuck was lurking, and I need to make sure they don't fall down. They will have to use that Volcanic Lightning to retreat from the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, but VHS, they take the fight, they take the Fire Giant, and now they need to take down these towers and start pushing into the enemy base.
I really like the fact that he was able to force that Pele ultimate. I think we've seen Almighty Chalk just do kind of been a menace to the backline in some of these fights so far. So I really like the fact that they were able to force it out, and I think that's going to be really huge if they push the envelope quickly and try to make some of these towers disappear as quickly as possible. But it looks like they're kind of taking it slow, enjoying the scenery in the long route, and going to go for this Primal Fury before any towers.
Yeah, of course, Fallen right now is, as I literally said, going nuts on the Scylla right now, and that's probably the best way I can describe it. But the only person on the Hanford Hairnets who could easily take down Scylla would have to be Almighty Jack on this Pele. But if you don't have the Volcanic Lightning, it just makes that job so much more difficult. But they need to be careful here, it's in more danger than they might realize, but they do take down the Trebuchet. As a pause comes on through, we get a chance to take a look across the board. Now, are you spotting anything in the builds right now, Muffin Man, that maybe stands out to you?
I'm certainly spotting a few things. Yeah, I'm certainly spotting a few things. We see that Void Shield pickup as well. There's a lot of items kind of going on from that team that are a little bit questionable, a little bit possibly not the best I've ever seen. But that's kind of some of the interesting parts about these Gold Fury games. A lot of these players are new to comp, and some of their coaches, especially on that Hanford Hairnets side, I think this is their first match. I think they weren't able to play their week 1 match.
Really?
So, there's a lot of interesting things to kind of come through and make all that stuff happen.
Yeah, so speaking of making things happen, I think I would like to see maybe a bit more happen from the Cthulhu pickup here. It seems to be diving into the backline okay, right? But once they're there, nothing seems to really happen. All that seems to happen is they take a lot of damage. And I will say it was very well done of them to retreat from that fight and then teleport back in. I thought that was the game changer, right? I thought that was where the fight was about to turn. I was like, oh wow, they got a lot of low health bars, and all of a sudden you have a Cthulhu full health. You think, right, that this is your moment, but they let Fallen get loose. And I will say, Fallen sentineling forward and diving the backline there. No, I don't think anybody saw that coming. I'm not even sure Fallen meant to do that. That might all have been, oh well, I've gone in forward now, so I guess I'm just gonna go for it. But they decided to go in, and it paid off. And I think if Hello Brandon had recognized there was an opportunity on Fallen there, Fallen was very low health. They could have taken them down, but they instead so focused on hitting everyone that they didn't hit anyone of note. So let's keep an eye on this Cthulhu later on, because I do think there is room for it, especially in these upcoming Phoenix defenses.
I would also like Cthulhu to get some more, maybe a little bit extra magical procs, maybe a hybrid item here and there, because I think this Scylla is going to be doing huge damage with these crushes to him, and Ryu Shinji taking a lot of damage right there as well.
Certainly not how you want to start the fight, but even less so is with Almighty Chuck blinking forward, getting CC'd and getting killed. Fallen nailing these shots, gets 2, hits a 3rd, and then dives on forward. Scary Creep will pick up another kill. There's a lot of members down on the side of Hanford Hairnets. Hello Brandon showed up to the fight. Welcome, Cthulhu. You are not welcome here. And this tier 2 tower will be burned down. Phoenix under pressure. The Sender Madness comes out, but not when there's any fighting going on. This looks like a bit of a free Phoenix with VHS.
And it looks like we see a little bit of a split call here. We see multiple people going for multiple different Phoenixes, but it might not matter. Cthulhu getting extremely low in that engagement.
Left side Phoenix has stayed alive. Like you said, it was a bit of a split fight, but Chaos Tonight and Top Hat decide, you know what? We don't need objectives. We need more kills. And they chase down this Cthulhu, kill him just outside of the Titan room. But you can't go that far, guys. There's still 3 Phoenixes up. You need to deal with at least one of them before you can make any more moves forward. But Scary Creep does push down this middle Phoenix. Chaos Phoenix will do the honors of taking down Fallen. Fallen only falling down twice, of course. And one of those is to a Phoenix now. Pat still diving forward. Taking a lot of damage, actually. Does manage to retreat. But there's the dynamic pillars. The fatal strike. Can't get through those pillars safely, and they will fall down as Buster Kappa fires some shots over the walls and gets a couple more bits of damage and another kill. So Hanford Hairnets do take a couple of Phoenixes. They are in a very, very good position, but maybe overstepped the mark just a touch there.
They did certainly get the Phoenixes, but I mean, I feel like we have to kind of call it out. There was a much more clean order of things to get done, and I think it was almost just a communication breakdown right there from both of these teams, and it's really going to allow Hanford Hairnets to possibly get some value where there should have been absolutely none.
Yeah, right now, you would expect Hanford Hairnets, pinned into the base, just trying to clear away some waves, but they will get a tier 2 tower, with a big commitment, mind you, and Law can't back because there's an archer shooting you. Law, okay, thank you. Thank you, he's actually cleared that now. But yeah, there should have been no real opportunity, and no fall on getting aggressive. Law, well, that minion has cost him the sprint. So he can't back. We'll have to walk all the way on back to base. But yeah, like you said, Muffin, VHS overstepped a touch, gave away, kills his, a lot of gold value. They gave away a tier 2 tower. Now the lead is sitting at about 10k, which is obviously fantastic. But realistically, it should be even more than that.
Yeah, I think it 100% should be a little bit more, especially just giving up those kills. Really hurt them. I don't know if you saw it, but Ganesha had his back stopped again by the minions. Cthulhu.
What is going on? Whoa!
Using that ultimate. That fire giant's coming up right now.
That would be a very, very handy ultimate to have at this moment. Is that an instant cast ultimate? If you hit 4, does that go off? I don't even think it does.
No,
speaking of going off.
Yeah, speaking of going off, I mean, still doing an intense amount of damage. This fire giant is up. I mean, this is not the spot you want to be in if you're Hanford Hairnets. It's going to be really, really tough for them to contest if they even make it there in time, which I don't think they will. We see still going for that secure. Top Hat really just kind of able to cut off the entrances in, and without Cthulhu being able to create some chaos, I'm a little bit worried for Hanford Hairnets right now.
Cthulhu not able to create some chaos because of that moment of madness. But we've seen some good zoning from Top Hat all throughout. It's just going to be more difficult when you don't have pretty much your main player right now, an Almighty Chuck. Getting burnt down by their main target Fallen. They want to be taking down this Scylla, not the other way around, of course. And we've had a lot of talk lately of mages not being so good, but Scylla sort of proving that wrong at the moment, especially not able to buy beads and ages. There's an Anvil of Dawn onto Buster Kappa, cannot go anywhere and will fall down. Too sexy creep. Now this Titan under threat, minions coming from all angles. A lot of grouped up players here for VHS, so the fighting goes back and forth. There's Almighty Chuck, not able to find the kill on the Fallen. Law will fall down too. Celery creep takes down, hello Brandon. The Cthulhu falls down. It is just Ryusinji to defend off everyone here. They're getting stunned out. There's Top Hat going down, but the Titan will go down as well. So Hanford Hairnets tried as they might to put up a defense, but VHS burn down the Titan and take this first game.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of hiccups from VHS, but it was still a pretty commanding victory. It was still definitely a lot of them pushing the envelope and getting something done because of them pushing that envelope. And so I'd really like to see them kind of go into this game. If they can get that Thor again, man, Thor really helps, especially if you have a solo laner that is as aggressive as Top Hat has been in this set. I mean, he has been all the way in there, and so having a jungler that can kind of just meet up with him from wherever is always really nice for him.
Went a bit heavy on the aggression, did Chaos tonight, but that's exactly what we wanted, right? We were discussing at the start. We want this door to having impact all over the map, and it gave the time that Fallen and Scary Creep needed. I mean, look at those scorelines: 9-2, 6-2 for your backline. It's exactly what you want to be looking for, And even then, some of those kills, some of those deaths, I should say, Fallen actually fell to the Phoenix. At one point. So, it wasn't even that Hanford Hairnets really had a good way into the draft coming out from VHS. It was just really tightly put together and did just come out on top because, I mean, has to be said, Muffin, VHS didn't make the mistakes that Hanford Hairnets were making. You know, there's a few mistakes, just questionable decisions, unusual ultimates and such, and that's just
Yeah.
not what you want to be doing when you're coming up to a team that's playing well. You know, you can't afford to make those mistakes. But you know, it's certainly not out of the hands of Hanford Hairnets. You know, they definitely had a
No.
good enough showing to come back in this next game.
I think there's a few things that that they should change. One, if you're gonna put Busticap on one of those hunters in the mid lane, I'd like to see someone with a little bit better clear. He wasn't really able to get active in a lot of the early to mid game because he was just stuck there clearing the wave while Scylla was like, all right, here's my 2. I'm gonna go do something else now. And I think that prohibited him from getting a lot of that extra farm and prohibited him from getting active in a lot of situations where he was possibly needed. And I'd also really they just got to play a little bit tighter. They've got to play a little bit cleaner. Some of these mistakes are not forced. They're just happening like random ultimates, a lot of usage of some of that stuff, some insane positioning. I think they really just got to play a little bit tighter, a little bit cleaner coming into this next game.
Yeah, I think we'll need to see maybe a more standard draft coming out as well, just to make something that they're maybe a bit more comfortable with. You know, you
Yeah.
mentioned some of the changes, like changing the Ishtar to something that can just clear a bit better. Obviously, we didn't get to see the full picks and bans process and actually how that one played out. But, you know, hopefully we'll get to see some more of that in this next game. But we'll be heading to a short break as we get set up for game number 2. So please do not go anywhere. Go refill your drink. Go refill your snacks. And we will see you in just a little while. Well, I did say it wouldn't be long, and that was obviously a quick break. But Muffin Man, we are going to be getting right back into this second game. So if you're just joining us, VHS have taken a 1-0 lead over Hanford Hairnets in the Gold Fury division in this Week 2 fixture. Now, Muffin Man, if you would just like to reiterate what you think some of the changes might need to be for Hanford Hairnets to come out stronger in this second game.
Yeah, I think a big part of the second game is going to be done in this draft portion here. I'd like to see Hanford Hairnets on a little bit more comfort, a little bit more, a little honestly a little bit easier to pull off composition because when you have a composition like uh throw a Scylla ability out there and make sure it lands. Having compositions like that are extremely easy to pull off and are extremely effective. And I feel like even in situations and a lot of the best case scenarios for Hanford Hairnets, it was extremely hard to pull off and extremely unrewarding to do so as well.
Unsurprisingly, we do see the Scylla band away from the Hanford Hairnets. They're not wanting to give fall on that one again because we did see some fantastic plays from that Scylla early on throughout that game. Actually, didn't die for a very very long time, and you know as a mid laner, that's always a bit of a success. But you know Thor coming out, Kernanos being banned as well. We're going to see two very very different drafts this time around, Muffin.
Yeah, very, very different drafts. I know we didn't get to fully see kind of what was going on, but they banned out a lot of these picks that are coming out. Thor's not going to be able to be played, which is, I think was a big part of that last win. The Cernanos obviously being targeted. I mean, Ryu Shinji looked absolutely disgusting on that Cernanos. We see 3 triple mage bans coming out from the Hanford Airnets, so we clearly know who they're looking at and who they're scared of. But they do get that first pick Hades, which I think is going to be huge for them.
It is, of course, relevant to mention that right now you are not permitted to purchase beads and aegis on the same character. So, you know, we're seeing a lot of burst mages like, funnily enough, Poseidon, Scylla, and Vulcan all coming on through in this moment. But that does mean that your purification beads are so valuable to you, which means that Hades, Xing Chen, fantastic for taking those beads away. So, sort of, unsynchronized as well. You know, you don't use those ultimates together at all. So it's very easy to confirm one, all right, beads off this character or that character. Second player goes on in and takes it away. And it's just a really, really good draft to come through right now. So VHS certainly have to be careful. However, Charybdis Ravana, pretty good gods at dealing with that, I would say.
Yeah, I think Charybdis and especially Ravana without beads Aegis. Oh no, but um it's going to be huge for him. It looks like VHS is going to opt for this double hunter as well. Possibly, I'm thinking they're probably going to throw that Charybdis in that middle lane. But Cupid can be an absolute monster as well. But I don't think Cupid's as much of a monster into a group of people that only have one character who's going to struggle to get out of that Cupid ultimate.
Yeah, of course, it's not such an effective ability against an Amuzin Khan. We can just zoom on out of there when needed. But it's it's interesting to put these gods together, Charybdis, Cupid. So you would imagine this would be a Charybdis in the middle lane, as they do tend to be that little bit of a safer pick. And Cupid, of course, has been quite strong, but a Kuzumbo coming up likely for the solo lane. I know there's a few Kuzumbo solo enjoyers out there, Muffin. What do you think of this character in this particular role?
One of my old friends was a very avid Kuzumbo enjoyer, and if you don't know what you're doing against a Kuzumbo, I mean, it's terrifying. He will push you through those minions, and your whole health bar will disappear, and you'll be questioning what even happened, and you can't even fight back because you're already so close to death. If you fight back, you're just guaranteeing you die because those thorns are gonna come out and they are gonna hurt. And I think that could be a little bit of a tech against this double ADC meta we're seeing here. He could opt for. I know Thorns is not the best relic right now, but I mean, opting for it with the Kuzumbo can kind of make it to where they could be almost killing themselves on this Kuzumbo.
We do, of course, as well want to see a bit of a better showing for Hello Brandon. Didn't get off to a good start on the Cthulhu, and it just didn't really get going from that point. You know, there weren't any major moments where the Cthulhu helped out. But Kuzumbo, similarly can just cause a lot of chaos and a lot of disruption into a team. Like if you look at the Xingqian Daji, a heavy dive style, but Ishtar Muzenkop, might struggle to catch up to these fights if they do dive so far ahead. So I actually really like the VHS draft, but it's not up to me to decide that, Muffin. That is up to my Chair 2 expert here. And I'm going to put it to you. Which one of these two drafts would you say is ticking your fancy right now?
They both have really, really good compositions. But I think I have a little more questions about the VHS one than the Hanford Hairnets. That Hades pickup, man, Hades is a terrifying god to play against. I mean, he can instantly turn any fight. If a few bad decisions are made, he can just single-handedly turn fights. And so that's always terrifying to me. Daji, especially after a lot of these escapes and beads are being able to be used, I think this Daji has a lot to capitalize on. So I personally am gonna put it just a teeny bit ahead of the VHS draft, but I think the VHS draft is very, very close to the Hanford Hairnets one.
Another big decision for you here. We're really going to test the Muffin Man knowledge here. Before we get into game, out of the Hanford Hairnets draft, who goes mid? Is it Ishtar or Muzin?
I think, we could see Busta Kappa try running it back, but I just think it makes so much more sense to throw that AMC into the mid lane. I mean, he's a top tier mid laner anyway, and he can generate so much pressure in that middle lane that it can almost be frustrating as an enemy team to try and get anything going, because you have to worry about just going through the mid lane where AMC is, and he's gonna hit you with the bees, he's gonna slow you, then he's gonna do a little bit of damage, and I mean, I think you should be putting this AMC into the mid lane, but I also could understand if Busta Kappa wanted to run it back.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we've very often seen, over many years of Smite, certain hunter matchups, can be quite interesting back and forth. But now we're talking about matchups between hunters in the middle lane and also into other hunters that show up later on. There's a really lot of different avenues you could take that sort of analysis through. Because as much as Muzin, top tier mid lane for sure, and puts out a lot of pressure, but Charybdis pretty good at avoiding all that pressure. So, we'll have to see exactly how they will level that out. And even then, I might be wrong. It might not be a Charybdis mid, but we will find out in just a moment as we head on into this game. This is, of course, game number 2. It is currently 1-0 in favor of VHS over Hanford Hairnets. Can VHS close it out, or will Hanford Hairnets be taking us to a game number 3?
It looks like we were wrong assuming that was going to be that Charybdis mid, as we see that Cupid mid. And now I've got a few more questions, because I really, really enjoy the Cupid matchup into Ishtar, but I don't know how much I'd enjoy it in the mid lane. There's not enough room to really work the artistry that matchup can be.
It's another interesting point, actually, funnily enough. We've gone through a bit of a swing, right? Where there was a debate over whether you start speed buff and then go red, or if you go red then the speed has eventually won out, right? But now with hunters in the mid lane, surely you want to be going speed to red, you know, and you really want to get that pressure in early. I feel like almost the meta is shifting in different directions at different points, and maybe certain parts are maybe falling behind a touch.
Well, speaking of getting that pressure down early, if you, in just in case you missed it, if you look over to that side, you'll see 2 purple buffs on that VHS side as Foxen decides to go for the purple buff invade, with Hanford Hairnets being none the wiser.
No, I saw that and I completely didn't even realize that was the enemy in me coming through. I'm not paying enough attention to this. What's going on? Yeah, 2 purple buffs coming through.
It almost
does, of
looked
course,
too
yeah.
natural.
Yeah, it looked so right, you know. It's like, oh, you know what? He's just going to clear this purple early on. And yeah, I completely was not aware of that. But speaking of not aware, we've been doing that a lot today. Buster Kappa gets caught from behind, has to burn the beads early with a flutter forward. Coming up from 4, there's a lot of damage with the Harp on. It's not going to be enough. And there is Almighty Chuck coming in just to dissuade VHS from getting aggressive. But Buster Kappa on AMC, you can't be making a mistake like that this early and burning the beats. And Almighty Chuck now going to be in some trouble. Gets stunned out. There's the root coming through. There's a lot of damage, and Fallen gets another fantastic start as they pick up first blood on this Cupid.
Yeah, I mean, that can be huge. Dying as a jungler early is really, really bad. If it almost feels like you're at your team's mercy on if you can really get back into the game. And so I'd like to see Chaos tonight really try to extend and try and find as much advantage as he can with the free time he's given.
See some scrapping over the Indra's Scepter, of course, but Law takes a lot of damage, is low health. There's the Shred coming out from the capsize. Law is the target. There's the Magic Shell. Doesn't have the leap, it seems. Can't get away, and there is Chaos tonight, like you mentioned, pushing the advantage, getting in, and getting another kill for VHS. So Hanford Hairnets now really need to tighten up, or this one could get ugly.
Yeah, speaking of getting active, I mean, he is absolutely pushing the envelope, as I've been mentioning a lot here. Going for that red buff. We could even see him try to go for the double invade, and it looks like he's instead going to go for these oracles. But that is getting active. That is doing what you need to be doing, because putting your whole team ahead, I think, is a little bit more worth than just, you know, taking it to get your own personal farm lead, to get a little bit of a personal advantage. I think he's kind of pushing the envelope in ways that most junglers possibly would.
We've seen double purple buff for VHS, now double red buff, and it might even be quadruple, and it is quadruple purple buff, as again, they invade onto this purple buff of the Hanford Hairnets, who are just not having a nice, easy time of it. Almighty Chuck has an almighty task ahead of them. They look to go for a gank onto this duel lane. It doesn't seem that VHS are aware of the situation. Almighty Chuck comes on in and finds all the swipes down. Looks like the target will instead have to switch to Foxen, who cannot get away. There's the Rolling Thunder, and Law takes that kill away. Not the target you want to have it on, but getting any kill at this point has to be a win.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the we've seen a lot of Ymir play, especially recently, but it is kind of the downside of Ymir. If you're just a little bit too aggressive at the wrong time, you can really, really be taken advantage of, like we just saw there. We see Cupid fighting for these hives over here.
Yeah, Beekeeper Fallen over here, trying to take down as many hives as possible. Law gets caught by a nice wall again, but that will be leapt over very, very quickly. And it's a shame for Buster Kappa, as we mentioned, AMC having the better type of pressure. But you know, when you have a bad start, like you give up first blood to Fallen, not Buster Kappa themselves, mind you, that was their own jungler, but now all of a sudden the momentum shifts, and Fallen has a lot of freedom in this lane, because right now we still don't have level 5 on Almighty Shark. Still level 3 is the Darg. I can't really impact this Cupid just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it is extremely tough here. But looking at this dual lane fight here, we see a good wall coming out here, but it looks like there's nothing else to happen in the rest of that engagement. Scrap
back and forth, but nothing doing just yet. I'm struggling to see where is Almighty Chuck? Where have they been? They've hit level 4. They've just cleared the right side of the camp. I need to see more from this Daji, I think, because when you have this bad start, you need to pay off as quickly as you can. Because now Chaos Knight's getting another red buff invade. There's pressure in the dual lane. You need to impact the map as a jungler right now. And it looks like Almighty Chuck has just gone for a bit of a gank attempt in mid lane, but it hasn't paid off. Goes up into the Palau, now level 5, of course. Will connect with those chains, gets the beads out, but hold on, the aggression shifts onto Buster Cap instead, gets under tower, Heart Bomb will do a lot of damage, and there's Almighty Chuck scaring them away, but VHS just don't seem to be in any danger. They just seem to be able to do whatever they want right now.
Yeah, I mean, Chaos Tonight has definitely been getting active. I mean, he's been taking all of these red buffs, and it looks like he's possibly going to be able to get a solo kill here as well, but he does miss the ultimate. Almighty Chalk might be able to get out of there. A nice blink from this Daji, the blink being followed, the one being missed, and it looks like that is going to be the end of that, as Almighty Chalk is able to escape. But over on the other side here, Foxen going to get picked up, and a nice kill in this duo lane for someone who's been a little bit too aggressive.
There is Law laying down the Law in that dual lane and taking out their opposing support yet again. Sure, you'd want 2 kills onto your ADC at this point, but it's fine enough to have them onto your support instead. And all of a sudden, Hanford Hairnets claw a lot back. You know, it's a small win that Almighty Chuck gets away there. It's a small win that you pick off the support in the dual lane again. So all of a sudden, Hanford Hairnets have crept their way back in and don't quite yet have the experience lead, but have, equalized the gold and maybe set themselves into a decent position now to claw on into the mid game.
Yeah, I agree. The Hanford Hairnets really kind of need to get active in this mid game, as they've kind of just started getting active. The early game VHS were definitely pushing that envelope. A big thing that I need to see from them though is to make sure they're on these buff timers, because Chaos Tonight has absolutely been on these buff timers.
I haven't actually paid a lot of attention to this solo lane, which I think Hello Brandon will be quite happy about based on the game they had previously, where there was constantly a Thor in their lane. So with the freedom of the solo lane, Hello Brandon has taken a bit of a lead. And now, red buff being done by the Hanford Hairnets. Actually managing to get their own, but Almighty Chuck in some danger. Chaos Knight spots them out. There's the CC chain. Up into the Paolo, just about though. Gets chains onto both. There is the Woven Raging Steel as well. Almighty Chuck on the retreat, but the Mystic Rush to crush this Daji, who will now have to retreat though. Does Chaos Tonight, as there is some damage coming out. Stinger does not connect. There is the Blades of Justice though coming through. There's the backflipper. Chaos Tonight lives with the smallest amount of HP, and they are still alive. Rolling Thunder cannot connect. Ryu Shinji needs to be careful they don't overstay, because there is Scary Creep coming around the backside as well. Fight ends up being just a 1-for-0 trade. Almighty Chuck falls down to the enemy jungler. That's not the situation you want to find yourself as a Daji still.
I mean, a situation that looked to be the start of Hanford Hairnets really taking control of their side of the jungle turned out to not be going as well as they initially hoped.
Yeah, it started well for them, of course. You know, they were starting to push back and say, oh, but Almighty Chuck in some trouble again. Has to retreat on out of there. It's just not been an easy ride for this Daji. And, when we looked at the drafts, we looked at the composition, we would have said that Daji actually would have a good time of it. Hello, Brandon, low health. Needs to be careful. Don't want to give up too much here. It's a nice fear to keep away top path. But there's Chaos Tonight. Blinks forward, gets the root, gets the damage. And Hello, Brandon will fall on down. And Chaos Tonight having such an impact all across the map now.
I mean, he has just been everywhere. And it's I mean, every single lane he has made at least 1 or 2 appearances at already, and we're only 9 minutes into this game. I am very excited to see kind of how he goes down there. Almighty Chuck especially having a rough time dying to those jungle camps, but it looks like Foxen might be having a rough time as well.
Foxen in some trouble. Law wants to go for the 3-peat. Can't connect though, and does not connect with the Whirlwind Raging Steel. But as Chaos Tonight finds an angle onto Buster Kappa. A lot of damage coming out quickly. Can this AMC retreat in time? Yes, they can. But look at what Chaos Tonight can put out for free just there. Almighty Chuck is having a bit of a stinker here, Muffin Man.
Yeah, it's really tough. Already 3 levels behind at that 9-minute marker. Has to pretty much fight and claw for every single bit of farm. Meanwhile, we just see Chaos Tonight saying, your red buff, I think it's a little bit more our red buff. And he's just been getting in here, taking so much farm away from from the team of VHS while getting, or from the team of Hanford Hairnets while getting a ton of farm himself off of it.
Yeah, it of course means that the XP lead is just heavily in favor of VHS because you don't get that much golden experience for invading, but it's what you take away, right? So what you're discussing on the early game, like when you take away so much farm from from the mid lane, from Buster Kappa, right? Level 9, so keeping up just about, but you want to be ahead, you want to be stomping forward. As Ryu said, you have something to back because the police are on their way. Can they get back in time? No, they cannot! There is a heart bomb and a wall, and there is Foxin claiming that one, said, I did all the work, I'm going to take the credit for it. And when your Hunter is being 4-man dove under a tier 1 at 10 minutes, oh man, you got to be in some trouble here.
Well, we can surely know what that plan almost always leads to. They're going to be looking for this Gold Fury. I don't like that Charybdis backed here. I think if Charybdis was here, this Gold Fury was all but assured. But now there's a little bit of room for some change here. Not enough shred, not enough team fight to really go to impressive. Law looking to get in here. Ymir ultimate coming down. A great secured Chalk doing, or Almighty Chalk looking to make something happen. But this Gold Fury is looking to just go down. VHS able to secure it. Almighty Chalk getting a pull, but not too much is going to matter as they continue to go into this fight.
On the retreat is the Hanford Hairnets, but Hello Brandon finds themselves in the middle of danger, goes in to that Pillar of Agony, but it will not be enough. Chaos Tonight gets yet another kill. I almost feel like there was an opportunity there for Hanford Hairnets to take a good fight, but they tried to steal the objective. Almighty Chalk trying to find some extra farm, finds a lot of trouble instead, and this Darji will fall down for a 4th time in the first 12 minutes or so. It's going from bad to worse now as VHS use their advantage into an objective and now looking to push down some of these towers.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, VHS really does have a gold lead. They've really got an advantage to push, and so I'm not surprised to see them already start trying to do that with those dives, the gold furies, a lot of things for them to grab.
Yeah, the Pyromancer is still up, of course, is still on the table. A lot of towers at full health, but Real City taking the brawl with Scary Creep right now, goes into the Whirlpool form. There is the More Hungers, will not connect with the CC, and Ryu Shinji thinks better of it, thinks there's probably some danger coming, so not willing to step too far forward. But this game for Hanford Hairnets sort of hinges on Ryu Shinji, right? You need your Hunter to show up later on and have this impact that you're sort of missing in these early fights.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think a little bit extra shred can always go a long way. They've already been winning these early fights, so just imagine what a little bit more damage can do for them. Foxen pushing the envelope. No one's there with him, though. Wow.
Well, don't need anyone, apparently, because this Ymir already has 2 kills. Has matched up the 2 kills coming up from Law, but a 3-level lead just in support cannot be nice for Law right now. Of course, because Law had a decent start as well, so you would have expected a lot better from the Xing Chen, who's taking a lot of damage, gets CC'd out. Can they leap away? No, instead they're going to go aggressive. They're going to go with that Whirlwind Rage and Steel, aiming to go into the tower, but Scary Creep with the Purification Beads in the nick of time means that will be a bit of a wash, but, I mean, I guess it's okay for Hanford Hairnets, but you don't want to be coming under so much pressure. Chaos Tonight spots out Almighty Chalk in the fight against 3. Looks like they want to take this fight. It gets 2 ultimates for just the flip and walks away safely. Hanford Hairnets need to stop taking these fights because it's just getting worse for them.
Yeah, these fights are really struggling for him. I mean, look at Foxen right now getting as active as possible underneath the enemy tower, making it count.
Damage coming through. Nice stun onto Scary Creep. Gets the backflip as well. Gets the kill. Really nicely played from Ryu Shinji there, making sure that they are still a factor in this game. But on the other side of the map, we do see Almighty Chalk falling down yet again. I believe that was Chaos Tonight who picked up another kill. So it's not going well on the right side of the map, but the left side at least has someone there, because another flip comes through. Another couple of tower shots. Foxen gets out alive, but Ryu Shinji is not going down without a fight.
He's just showing that he is not to be trifled with here. He hasn't even finished a single crit. He just finally finished a crit item and is already, winning a 2v1, almost getting both kills. A very excellent play from him there. as well as Busted Kappa getting this tower, and I think that's one of the huge advantages of that AMC mid lane. He clears those waves fast. Not only does he clear them fast, he clears those towers fast as well, and that's a nice little boost of gold for that the Hanford Hairnets need in a situation that they're currently in.
About 3k gold down, but a tier 1 tower in mid lane, and very likely a tier 2 tower on the right hand side of the map, means that they get these little bit of gold that they need. Scary Creep taking a ton of damage from Ryusiji, who's just firing off shots now as the confidence coming right into this Ishtar. I do believe we'll have to wait to see how Hanford Hairnets get Ryusiji into these fights, as Almighty Chuck is having a real tough time. Does get a little bit of peel with that hook slam. Hello, Brandon. Get aggressive on the fall and flooded down. So there's the Pillar of Agony coming through. Almighty Chuck, low health, will survive and will be able to retreat. But there is the World Raging Steel. Hello, Brandon was left alone, isolated from the team. Means that Fallen will pick up that kill. There's a Grave coming through from Top Hat, finally making a rotation all the way over, but Buster Kappa, low health, nowhere to go. Chaos Tonight picks up another kill, and so many shells coming out means that this dive just continues onward. VHS take 2 kills, push down through all this mid lane, take down a tier 1 tower, and now look to extend their lead as the target is Ryusiji on this left-hand side of the map.
Yeah, Ryusiji looking to be in a tricky spot here. Scary Creep also in a very bad spot here, taking a lot of damage. The freeze comes out a little bit too early, and Ryusiji is going to just walk on out of that engagement, but almost picking up a few kills there.
Ryusiji not in any danger at all, it turns out. Was almost taking away the kill for themselves, but that's what VHS need to do now. They've shut down solo lane. They've stalemated mid lane to the point where it's just not in a great spot for Buster Kappa. Now they need to impact the duo lane, because Ryusiji is the only member still who can have a fantastic impact, at least equal to VHS, but they need to make sure that lead does extend over to that side of the map too, because it's been all right, but if they don't manage to impact this Ishtar, you know, it's the exact type of god you can't just let go free. Has a lot of movement, has a lot of damage, and can take down a team by themselves. Make no mistake, Ishtar has that capability in them. But what would you say VHS just need to be looking at now? Is it just take objectives and get the lead to be, you know, insurmountable?
At this point, I think what they should be doing is either using, keep doing what Foxen's been doing, which is just, pushing the envelope as much as he can. A beautiful wall there. I don't think it worked out quite, but it almost did. As Foxen's just been having these fantastic walls, been super aggressive, causing a lot of problems, and I think if he can start doing that in the duo lane, it'd be very big for them. And I also think they should be looking at these objectives and just forcing fights at them, because I think they can afford the little bit of health that Gold Fury's going to take, because they are right now 4k ahead. They've got multiple levels. I think taking these Primal Furies, if they're going to get them uncontested, take them uncontested, but I think they should be looking for fights off of these objectives.
Almighty Chuck, so low down in the farming aspect right now, is just struggling. It's almost like a 4 versus 5 situation at all times for VHS, because Almighty Chuck just cannot get involved. Look at the player damage numbers, only 2k from the Daji, lower than their own support as well. And I just want to point out here, Chaos Tonight 6-0, but third lowest player damage in the game. I think that's worth mentioning. But getting aggressive now is Hello Brandon, gets a Pillar of Agony onto 3, gets a lot of damage out, but takes a lot of damage in response. Goes for the death run below, can't take out Fallen though, and now coming in from the re-engage is Law, but that's not going to be enough. And Almighty Chuck losing the fight. The Top Hat can't get up into the parlor, gets slapped down by the giant tortoise man as Chaos Tonight takes down yet another kill, and might be looking at Law too. Law with the hook slam might get themselves to safety, but it doesn't matter if they're safe, because the Fire Giant is not safe.
I'm gonna be honest, all right? I will not tell a lie. Hanford Hairnets, if this is an even game, I truly believe they win that fight. That was a very beautiful ultimate from Hello Brandon there. Unfortunately, he's just a little bit too far behind a lot of the members on this VHS squadron to even do as much damage as he should be doing. I mean, he had almost a 4-man ultimate, and they were all stuck in that ultimate for quite some time, but it just wasn't able to do enough damage, and he was, you know, able to be taken down. And I think that's just a product of VHS is now at the point to where their lead is helping them win in situations where they possibly shouldn't have.
And of course, it's worth noting that they don't have this standard style of mage that can maybe back up this Pillar of Agony, and they're just taking so many shots from Fall, and like you cannot survive when a Cupid is just firing non-stop at you like that. And Top Hat, of course, providing the CC required. It just means that this Hades is going to struggle. Who do you take down now as Hades? Both of the ADCs will blow you up, and everyone else is quite tanky. So it's just a tough spot to be in again for Hello Brandon.
I mean, Cupid is realistically the best target for Hades, but Cupid has that anti-heal and a little bit of that shred with that Executioner as well. It's going to be very, very, very tough because, I mean, Charybdis can just press 3. And I know you could say that about almost any situation in the game that Charybdis is in, but I mean, you can say that about almost any position in the game for a reason. Because that Charybdis 3 is such an amazing ability about getting out of these tough situations.
And of course, that is why they picked the Charybdis. You know, the Hades was top picked, so they knew that the Charybdis would be effective. Because not only can you press 3, if your 3 is down and it's a complete dire situation, you just press 4 instead. You have so many options. But now it looks like a 4 versus 3 fight. This is what you need to be taking if you're Hanford Hairnets. A double Whirlwind Raging Steel there. Makes Scary Creep in a lot of danger, but the Whirlpool form will get them away. Almighty Chuck gets up into the parallel, but Buster Kappa already taken down. And now it is all 5 members from VHS. Almighty Chuck gets frozen out, gets killed off. And now this tier 2 tower will be under some threat too. Hello Brandon does do a lot of setup to meet Ryu Shinji can find some damage, but now they have to retreat. This is 4 versus 2 now. Law's under tower. Law's in some danger. Does leap over that Frost Breath though, but the Watery Grave will cause a lot of disruption for Ryu Shinji, who gets pushed back into the enemy team. Has to burn the shell. There's the hot bomb coming through. They do just about survive. Purification beats down as well. They're firing off into Top Hat, but Top Hat will not care. They will charge down. This Ishtar slap them into oblivion. Can they find the Kappa just to find the damage, because that should seal the game if they can. They cannot. It looks like Ryu Shinji will get back to base. Left side Phoenix will fall down in favor of VHS though, and at the end of the day, that was the real goal all along.
Yeah, I mean, they're able to get that left side Phoenix a little extra value off of getting these kills, and, you know, Hanford Hairnets are just a little too discombobulated, a little too split up to really even try and contest these fights, let alone contest them without the assistance of a Phoenix, without the assistance of something that can, because you really need a little bit of extra help, especially when you're about 10,000 gold down. You really need that Phoenix to help you put in some DPS, because you guys just cannot do it on your own. There's just not enough damage there.
Yeah, you saw that fight happening on the left-hand side. Now, I didn't totally agree, didn't disagree with that fight, because of course it's a 4 versus 3 engagement. That's what you want to be looking for, right? They saw an opportunity and they took it, but once it starts taking a little bit longer, right, you know, when you see you have Scary Creep, Whirlpool forming out of there, that's kind of it, and you have to learn to stop the push as well. There was a time there where that fight had to end, but now hold on, the fight beginning as getting thrown into danger is Foxen right now. Low health, gets stunned out. Ryu Shinji nailing these shots, nailing this damage, and will take down the enemy support. But there's Fallen already swinging, already taking out one. Will take out the second member as well, but now maybe finds himself in a lot of trouble. Buster Kappa will take down the opposing mid laner. So finally, a fight goes in favor of Hanford Hairnets. I say in favor, it's a 2 for 2. But it's still slightly in their favor, and they'll probably be happier of this set. But we do see Ryu Shinji in a lot of trouble. There's a Mystic Rush coming through, but takes down Chaos tonight. So VHS stepping forward with their advantage, but overstepping, and now give Hanford Hairnets some breathing space.
And breathing space is exactly what they needed. This Fire Giant is on its way up, coming in about 20 seconds. They have to try and push this wave and get ready to contest this fire, which they've got that Oni Fire Wave in that left lane, and if that's not dealt with, that will put some pressure on your Titan. That will make it sweat. So you really, really have to deal with that before getting there. So they get a little bit of breathing room, but I would say they're nowhere near the amount of breathing room that they really need to feel comfortable. They need to be, I mean, dealing with these almost crises
Yeah.
very, very quickly, because if they don't, then we could see VHS just pick up a Fire Giant for free.
VHS do have that double hunter composition, so they will burn it very fast. You know, it's going to be tough to burn through. And now we're seeing out. Ryusinji is the shining light that we've been talking about all along, but with a spectral armor now picked up for Chaos Tonight on Chaos Tonight and also Top Hat. It just means that these high priority targets are even harder to deal with. This Fire Giant already been started up, 50% HP. Almighty Chuck looking for an angle. Hello Brandon comes on in, swoops down underneath, but cannot take down this Fire Giant or will pay the price for it. And Almighty Chuck, who was watching seemingly, and will now fall down. Also, that's 5 members with Fire Giant barreling down towards this mid lane. Hanford has to be careful they don't lose the entire game here.
Yeah, they're in a very, very bad situation, and I mean, it's only gonna get worse from here on out if they don't put on something fast. And that is not good.
Oh, Ryusinji dashes on forward and now has to retreat similarly quickly, but does find themselves getting frozen out by Foxin. They've zoned away just for the time being, and not under that much pressure, as much as that forward dash could have afforded them. But now all 5 members of VHS in the Titan room. Ryusinji gets hit with a heart bomb, has to retreat to the fountain. Triple stun from the heart bomb comes through. 50% HP on the Titan. Fire minions in. Top Hat into the fountain, will fall down for it though. Fallen now takes a lot of damage. This Titan so low, it's just falling so fast. Paolo comes through, a lot of damage. Titan low health. Titan not dead yet. The fountain gets pulled in by the Paolo. There's a lot of damage coming out. Triple kill for Ryusinji. They do manage to hold just about to Hanford. Hairnets, they are bleeding. They are bloody. They are burning, but they are not down.
A fantastic defense. And this is why whenever you're ending a game, every single member should just be calling Titan, 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 because right there, VHS got a little too greedy, and they should absolutely have been looking to DPS that Titan as much as they possibly could. And there was a lot of times where those ADCs were not hitting that Titan, and if they were, I mean, they would have won this set right now. But now they've given Hanford Hairnets it is the absolute tiniest amount of ability to play the game, but they are still able to play the game.
They can't take down a Phoenix can Hanford Hairnets, unfortunately. That would have been very helpful to them, but the Titan being so low, and that mid lane Phoenix is not coming up for an extremely long time. I just don't know how they're going to hold off against VHS just diving in, right? That's surely got to be the call. But they have to play it correctly. Like you've mentioned, you need to all be on the same page. You need to all come in at the same moment. Because if anyone steps in, unleashes that Titan, it's just going to heal on up. Quickly before this fight actually takes place, Muffin Man, are they going to do it? Can Hanford Hairnets hold off this tide?
I don't know. I think they've already made the wrong call. They clearly don't seem ready for it. And if you're not ready at this point, I think you should be fighting them right here, because the moment they get into that base, it is way too close for comfort, and you have to play it perfectly. But speaking of unperfect, Ryusinji in a bad spot.
No. That might just spell curtains for Hanford Hairnets. Almighty Chuck goes up into the parallel. A lot of ultimates being blown. This is the last stand of the Hanford Hairnets. If they can hold it, Fallen falls down, so that's a good start. Almighty Chuck just about alive, but here's Chaos Tonight about to start swinging on this Raven. Tries to take down Buster Kappa, who cannot retreat. There's a nice double freeze coming through. Chaos Tonight takes down another. Hello Brandon has done what they can. They've taken out the entire backline, but now there are 3 members onto the Titan. It's just Law to defend. There's not a lot of damage from these frontliners, and it's taking a lot of damage onto Hold on. Hello Brandon's coming in. Triple kill for Hello Brandon. Quadra kill for Hello Brandon. Top Hat low health. The Titan low health. The Top Hat has to retreat. Top Hat has to go. He can't stand it. The minions don't just make it in yet, and now the minions are being pulled away. They can't find it. And for Hairnets still hold on. They manage the defense. The Titan clears the final minion on very low health, but it is not yet the end of the game.
Not yet. I mean, I personally believe that VHS made the right call there. I mean, we saw that Hello Brandon was way too distracted in that back line to really be able to help, but he came in like a hero, swooped in just at the nick of time, and this Phoenix is going to be respawning soon. They can't just barrel back down to do it. It's now Hanford Hairnets really have just a little bit of breathing room once again, because that Phoenix is going to be back up, and that means the next fight is going to be at a Fire Giant and not directly in their face.
Phoenix will get up, the Titan will begin to heal, and apparently that's all the Hanford Hairnets need. As long as the Titan's got 1 health, it's enough health. Like you said, this Fire Giant coming up, I'm not sure Hanford Hairnets can contest it, but it will be an enhanced Fire Giant, so it's certainly going to be even more difficult. Hanford Hairnets have done absolutely everything to remain in this game, but it's just going to get more difficult for them in about 10 seconds as the Fire Giant will land down as an enhanced Fire Giant. I don't know, what would you do here, Muffin Man? If you are Hanford Hairnets, do you contest this?
I think someone's just got to be the hero. I think someone's really got to step it up here, turn up the jets, make something happen, because if this EFG goes down, I'm sorry, I'd never want to be the caster that calls a game early, but I just don't see how you can defend with a Titan that's that low HP against a team of 5 barreling down with EFG.
5 members of VHS pick up that enhanced Fire Giant. I did see Almighty Chuck making a move over there, so maybe was considering it, but it's just too difficult. They don't have any major steal potential on the side of Hanford Hairnets. And yeah, here's the defensive position. Looks like a mid-lane Phoenix is the choice for VHS, because there is a wave of fire minions. There is a Trebuchet coming down this right-hand lane too, just in case the fight doesn't go as well as they want. Ryu Shinji fell down early in that previous fight, so certainly has to be careful this time around. Blinking forward is Law. Similarly, so is Top Hat. Already the frontliners getting into the action, and Buster Kappa falls down early in this fight. Paola comes through, but there's Hell Brandon with a huge Pillar of Agony. Gets all the front line in it, and some of the back line too. Gets a lot of damage coming out, but there's the Ag to come through. Almighty Chuck finds some damage, but not enough damage. Fallen now, taking down so many members. Another triple kill in this game. Dashes forward, goes right on in to Ryu Shinji, who does fall down. Fallen falls to the Titan, but falls to the Phoenix, but the Titan will go down to VHS, who took their time, had to really work for that one, but they do end up taking down this second game and will be your winners of this set tonight. What a game, Muffin Man. Fantastic showing from both sides. It was exhaustive, it was exhausting, but finally we have our winners.
I mean, I thought when I saw that ultimate coming out from Hello Brandon, I really thought I was eating my words as we spoke. I thought they had won that fight, and it was just unfortunate. You know, the EFG was really what ended up winning them that fight, because if you look at those health bars, they were all getting really low. And you know, you can always think just in your mind, what if we did it this way? What if we did it that way? But I mean, what a beautiful game. What a beautiful back and forth situation. Some intense Titan defenses from them over there. And, you know, despite a lot of struggling in that early to mid game, they definitely came out. They definitely showed what they were made of in that late game. And I think they have something to at least be proud of.
Yeah, you know, they've shown that they can work together in some good team fights. Hello Brandon had 2 very rough laning phases. Not so much in the second game, it has to be said. But, you know, it did take a long time to really have an impact. But at the end was hitting these huge ults. Almost gets a penta. By the way, that was a full quadra kill from Hello Brandon on that second Phoenix defense. But the same with Ryu Shinji, you know, had a lot of time, did a lot of work throughout that game, just couldn't quite nail it down at the end. So definitely something to work for Hanford Hairnets. I believe he even said it wasn't that their first game because they couldn't play their first week fixture.
Yeah, they weren't able to play that first week.
Yeah. So this is effectively your first game of this team. So, you know, banding together, working each other out. You know, sometimes you have rough games, sometimes you have unbalanced games, but at least they know that if they band together, they can really put up a fight. So I'm excited to see what they can put together next time through, because now they've had a bit of a hit in the face, you know, a bit of a bloody nose. So how do they pull it together for the next week's fixture?
Yeah, I think honestly they've really shown that they've got a lot of heart and they can really come back into these things. I'd really like to see a little bit more focus on that duo lane, because Ryu Shinji has just been looking kind of like a monster in a lot of the fights and a lot of these things, and seeing him get a little bit more of a lead, he could be a really devastating ADC. I'd also like to see Almighty Chalk. I think the Daji just isn't the move. It didn't really work out. You weren't really able to accomplish any of Daji's game plans, and partially because you were just so far behind in that game, but also partially it feels like you were lost at a lot of those points and at a lot of times. I'd really like to see them prioritize a few other picks.
Yeah, of course, have to work out what works for them. Maybe what works in certain situations doesn't work quite the same way. As you mentioned, some of these players sometimes learning competitive matches. But we are done for tonight. Thank you very much, Muffin Man, for coming with me today. It was a hell of a ride. Hope everyone watching had a fantastic time as well. But this has, of course, been the Reap Smite League. If you're not part of this Discord, you can scroll on down, find that link, join on in, and hopefully sign yourselves up to take part yourselves. But I have been Judas Priestley. I've been joined by Muffin Man. I've had production running in the background from Vile. Haha, I'm going to name you Vile. Sorry about that. But there we are. We have had a good time tonight. Hope to see you guys sometime soon. We are now signing off.